Hello, fellow Hellbound friends. My name's Jamie, and this is To Hell in a Podcast.
But you were born. Welcome to planet Earth each day. It's death and more.
Hello, fellow Hellbound friends. So being the complete amateurs we are, in our last episode, we pretty much screwed up everything when it came to promoting ourselves. We never once mentioned our podcast name in the last episode. So to do that, welcome to Hell in a Podcast. And please like and subscribe. You can listen to us here on YouTube, see our glorious faces, or on all the major podcast platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
So if you're new here, welcome, fellow Hellbound friends. Join us as we podcast by podcast slowly inch our way into the front row seats that we'll all have in hell. Fun hell, though. Let's just clarify that. We're not dicks or anything, not assholes, and we don't make fun of people who don't deserve it. Looking at you, Mitch McConnell. So, but you know what I mean. It gets a little hairy. I mean, heaven will probably take a couple looks at us and maybe decide that this isn't where we belong. But, we basically just talk, it's like a night out with your friends, talk about random stories about our past. You'll learn way more about us than you ever thought you needed to know. Talk about things that we're interested in while the rest of us pretend we're interested in it. Looking at Erin and all of her historical references, I'm going to learn whether I like it or not. And just, cover the weird and random. We'll have special guests joining us from time to time. Really looking forward to our sister-in-law who, she's fun. You'll like her. She's
Hopefully
super cute.
Hopefully next week.
And I say sister-in-law as though I'm not related at all to her, except
she's all of our sister-in-law.
She belongs to all of us.
Yeah,
we adopted
you
her.
You guys are honorary.
Yeah.
It's true.
We'd keep her. Even if Kyle broke up with her, we'd keep her.
Yes.
So
forever.
She belongs to all of us.
But so join us, and we'll see you in hell. We'll either save you a seat or you can save one for us and we'll have a grand old time with it. So that gets pretty dark right there at the end. So let's take it away.
So hell is in the title, so it's about murder, right?
I mean, it's not about murder, but it could be sometimes a lot, probably.
Yeah. So last week we did kind of longer introductions, but we'll just keep it quick this week with the names. So I'm Jamie.
I'm Kelly.
I'm Erin.
I'm the other Erin.
Erin. Quinn Scott's Erin.
Yeah. So, each week we're going to start with a few questions in our random TMI section, some from us and some our listeners suggested, before launching into the main theme of the week.
And so our first TMI question for today is a topic I could talk for a very long time on, but who is a celebrity or actor you unreasonably hate? And I mean somebody who they've done nothing wrong. They don't seem like they're bad people in real life. Maybe, who knows, they're celebrities, they're weird, but just no matter what you do, you can't help but just hate them. I will go first because I know exactly who it is. And his name is Leonardo DiCaprio. And I hate that bastard.
Fourth grade girls from the 1990s are hating you right now.
Did you hate him when you were younger, like Titanic?
Yes. In fact, it was because he was such like this weird, skinny heartthrob sort of guy.
I never thought he was that cute.
I didn't understand it, and I swear I heard nothing but things about Leonardo DiCaprio when I was young and like in middle school, and I hated everything about it and about him. Like Titanic, go kill yourself. No, thank you. Like, not interested.
He
did.
He does because they would share the freaking board, which they should have been. That's a whole nother discussion. End of Titanic.
Yes.
But yeah, even to this day, like I was upset he won an Oscar, even though I'm sure he deserved it because I know he's a good actor. But I can't get over it. I don't like him. I don't like him.
he suffered a long time for the Oscar, if that makes you feel better. Like he really
No, it doesn't. It would have been better if he suffered his whole life and he only got it posthumously after he had died. Like I didn't want him to ever get one. Like I wanted there always to be someone who was just that much better.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I mean,
No,
it's ridiculous because who cares about the Oscars? It's like they just finally started giving it to people of color and women, and they're like, look at us, we're so progressive. But still, I wanted him to die without it. I don't know why. I just can't. I hate
That's
him.
really dark. You're like,
Yeah.
I don't want you to ever live winning this.
Hey, when I hate, I hate with my full heart. So
yeah, it's not just like I want you. It's not just I hate you, but I also want your. I don't want you to achieve any of your dreams.
Yeah. And I don't want you to be alive.
I just and it's so funny because it's not. I mean, I know that he has been in some really good movies, and I know he's a good actor. I can objectively and logically know that, and yet in my heart of hearts, I'm like, I hate your dumb face. I will
Yeah.
I know.
But like I said, I could talk about how much I dislike him for a very long time. Leonardo DiCaprio, please never watch this. If you do, I'm so sorry.
Are you really sorry?
I mean, probably.
Who do you want to pass it off to next?
Let's do Erin, Queen of Scots.
Okay. So mine is Sandra Bullock. Like I fucking hate her. I hope she chokes. Like she's the worst. Whenever I see her in something, it like fills me with such a rage. Like someone wanted me to watch that movie. What was it? The Heat with Melissa McCarthy.
I like her in.
I love Melissa McCarthy, and I was like, no, I cannot. And like when she was in The Blind Side, my mom made me watch it, and I was like, I hate your stupid accent in this movie, and then you won a stupid Oscar. You suck. I hate you. And if you listen to the Sandra Bullock, I hate you.
And can I just say, I think it is so hysterical because number one, we are pissing off so many people right now. But number two, it's so hysterical
why our podcast is.
It's in the name, guys. But it makes me laugh so hard because Sandra Bullock is like literally the sweetheart of Hollywood. I mean, everyone has acknowledged that the only reason she won an Oscar for The Blind Side is because they were like, we like you a lot and we want to give you one of these.
Right, and she like adopted children, and like I love that. That's wonderful. But like I also hope that she chokes. Right. So
what did it for you about Sandra Bullock? Like, was it her crazy screaming and speed? Like, what did it?
That didn't help, but I remember seeing Miss Congeniality and just being so annoyed by her because like I hate those movies when like a person who's like objectively really hot is like not hot because she like doesn't wear a ton of makeup and stuff, and like those movies
like she's all that she takes off the glasses and
we put Sandra Bullock, who clearly has a rockin' bod. Like just because she's wearing sweatpants and a loose shirt doesn't mean you can't tell that she's clearly taking care of herself. Like she's in a dress, so now me, Benjamin Bratt, can find her hot. No, I can't do it.
Can I just say though, the one movie where that actually worked and like I thought was believable, The Princess Diaries with Anne Hathaway.
Yeah.
Tell me that they didn't do it perfectly. Yeah. Making her a nerd and then making her a princess.
Yeah. And
that movie nailed
it. It hurt my feelings that apparently curly hair is like ugly. That did make me a little sad. Yeah. But
it's Anne just Hathaway, not princessy, apparently.
I mean, apparently you can't just like pin it back nicely, but it's fine. Like, it's fine.
That seems so much like me. Like I was the same way. Like it's not like, and I hadn't even watched Speed, so there was no like, but The Heat actually finally took her off my list because I love Melissa McCarthy.
Like if the movie was just Melissa McCarthy with like a general sprinkling of Sandra Bullock, I could do it. But the fact that it's like a buddy thing, I just can't. Like she always plays like
Sandra Bullock. Yeah, she's got a special place in my heart because she has been in some really terrible movies that I really love. She was in Demolition Man with Sylvester Stallone.
So bad and so great.
Amazing
movies.
Yes, we will. We will do that.
I'm sure that'll be a conversation we have to have.
Remember we did that one. We did a bad movie night in high school where we just all picked a bad. I mean, we did
Glitter.
I'm trying to remember what other
Glitter.
One.
Glitter was one.
Glitter, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no.
There's a lot of problems with those movies. We can discuss that later. But yeah,
Well, and you guys know my family, we have become experts on watching bad movies. I mean, I have an arsenal. I could pull one out at any moment. Yeah, I'm constantly ready to talk about that.
Like, we should probably do an episode where we just let you talk about The Postman for an hour because it fucking kills me.
Well, everybody
could.
We each get our episodes of our choosing and our theme. So that's
I like that like Aaron is gonna be some like historical, like well researched, you know, and then mine is gonna be about Kevin Costner and the Postman. I could do one just on Kevin Costner.
It's true.
Our podcast contains multitudes. Yeah. We can talk about any topic.
I know, though I feel like it's gonna make listeners go, how are these four friends? How have they made it this long?
Because they're all weirdos.
Yeah.
There's the power of friendship.
Yeah. All right, so I will pick Jamie next for the question.
So, like I said, Sandra Bullock used to be on my list. Also, Charlize Theron used to be on my list, but the main one is Mark Wahlberg. Like, now that he's trying to be this like serious actor, it's like you're Marky Mark, and you're like, you know, he's just always like posing and very like his faces and like the body language, like it just feels so awkward in any movie, even when he's trying to be like a serious actor. Like, I just cannot take it seriously. And like,
he committed a serious assault too in his life.
Yeah,
exactly.
Not a good man.
So I know we said the unreasonable. I didn't even know that before I like irrationally hated him. Like, where I was just like, why am I going to
your instincts were right?
Exactly. I was like, why? Anytime, like, and it's like, even if he had like a bit part or something, he just like always stands out to me. It's just like, he's one of those.
He's so wooden and like there's nothing going on behind the eyes.
And something about him, he's always Mark Wahlberg. Like he's
And see, that is the thing for me that made me decide I didn't like him very much, is that it's like, if you can't like look back on your past and be like, just like own up to it, the fact that like he literally in interviews will not talk about being Marky Mark, it's like, just embrace it. Like, you know, it's like, don't pretend like you have to like that didn't happen. It doesn't mean that all the stuff you've done since then doesn't count, you know?
He thinks he's this like super serious actor. And it's like, come on, dude. Like he takes himself like way too seriously. And so I have to just like,
like kind of like him because of the Boston thing, and my mom like made me watch 8 million movies with him in it because she's like, he's from Boston, Aaron. I'm like, yeah, Mom, there are other people from Boston who don't suck though.
Right.
There's a lot of people from Boston.
Give John
Krasinski, and you got Matt Damon, who hopefully
Chris Evans.
Yeah, Chris Evans is from there.
I can always bring it back to Chris Evans.
There's a delightful band of people from there that don't include Mark Wahlberg. So, I mean,
it's true. It's true. Especially now that he's apparently assaulted somebody. I did not know that.
It happened way back.
Oh, yeah. Look it up.
It was very racially motivated.
Wasn't it with like dad or something?
Yeah, and it was
horrible.
Like, very racially motivated, and like he's also made some like really transphobic comments over time.
Oh, so I hate that. Toxic masculinity. Get the hell out. No thank you.
He's always like showing his abs and stuff.
And like I said before, I know we said unreasonably. Like I said, all of this came before I knew any of that shit. And then it's like my
and you were like justified.
My woman senses were right.
Kelly's like, come on, Leonardo DiCaprio, assault a person. Like, come on.
But don't.
20
I mean, you could just do something like, remember when Christian Bale totally lost his shit on some lighting guy and just yelled and everybody was like, whoa. Like, that's what I want from Leonardo DiCaprio. I don't want him to go full bad. Like, I don't want him to like turn evil, like do a full 180, but you know, do something to justify it. Besides just being a 90s teen heartthrob.
Well,
confirm your judgment.
He dates like always 20-year-old women.
Yeah, that's real sketchy.
Yeah, I mean, my problem with it is that it's like, if it were reversed, I wouldn't want to like tell some old lady who was getting it from a 20-year-old. I'm just like, if it's okay in one direction, it's got to be okay in the other direction in my mind.
They're consenting adults, but
exactly
the pattern is a little off-putting.
The biggest thing I feel like is the power differential. Like,
yeah. And I think that's something though. I mean, you know, there are too many celebrities who get way too up there. I mean, imagine being imagine the person, the guy who's with Oprah, it's like there's never not a weird power dynamic there because it's freaking Oprah.
Stedman,
Yeah.
Do you know what I
Stedman is
mean?
getting
Like,
tied up. She's tying Stedman up on the regular.
either that or she flips it completely.
Yeah.
Like she just
Now-
wants
now
to give up
Oprah's gonna
control
sue us.
completely.
Maybe
She's
Oprah's
like,
a
I'm a
switch.
boss bitch everywhere else except here. I want you to
Oprah's
take it
a
over.
switch, I bet. I bet sometimes she really puts on the dominatrix outfit, and then other times she's like Stedman,
Guys,
like
we're
Shibari.
gonna get sued.
And
We're gonna get sued by
Stedman's
Oprah.
like, anytime she walks in, he's like, which Oprah am I gonna get? And I don't know.
Yes, mistress. I'll just lean over for you.
Okay, moving on. Aaron, you're unreasonable.
Richard Gere. He's always supposed to be the heartthrob in like the 80s movies. I always find him completely sleazy, slimy. Like there's just something about him that I Pretty Woman, Runaway Bride. I'm like, no, Julia Roberts, find somebody else.
I also deeply hate
I
Julia
don't like
Roberts,
him.
But
Yeah, I thought about her because she's not my favorite, but there's just something he's supposed to be leading man, and my instinct is run.
Yeah, he's supposed to be like charismatic. Like that's how he always sort of gets portrayed, but I don't think he really pulls it off. Like
no.
Pretty Woman, it's like he's a rich guy who takes advantage of a prostitute and then in the end decides
he's an asshole.
after he's totally broken her heart,
that we're cool.
Decides
I hate when he slams the thing and they said how that was real and she didn't know and that was her.
Well, and plus,
and
in the movie Unfaithful, when Diane Lane cheats on him with really sexy Olivia Martinez, I'm like, I totally understand. If I was married to Richard Gere and Olivia Martinez hit on me, I'd be like, here's my pants, they're off. Let's do this, and then I would do that a lot. So I mean, I get it. I'm sure my mom's heart would break because she's madly in love with Richard Gere. So.
She
Not as much as Russell Crowe, but it's up there. So I'm sure she's somewhere is like, oh, my heart, my daughter. She's talking badly about Richard.
Yeah.
I'm
looking at
okay.
Sorry, our internet goes in and out. We're in a big permanent thing.
Now we're to our next question.
Yeah, our next question. Okay. So this is from a listener. This was a suggestion. And it is, what show or movie did you watch as a kid and realize now that is wildly inappropriate? So I feel like this is a lot of the non-Disney movies that I watched as a child, but I'm going to go with, I watched The Birdcage for the first time when I was 5. And it's because I loved drag queens, and my mom was like, she loves Nathan Lane and Robin Williams, so why not? And she's not going to get into the other jokes, which I did not, to be fair. So I just thought it was this delightful movie, and Hank Azaria is a total little goober in it, and I was super entertained. And then I got older and I was like, whoa. I mean, it has a lot of good themes to it about acceptance and all that lovely stuff.
Yeah, it's at least a good movie.
Yeah, but definitely not for children. It is solidly rated R.
That's crazy.
I did not realize that movie was not for children because it had songs and Nathan Lane, and so that's at least 3 childhood movies that I watched singing in Nathan Lane. So I thought it was, and Robin Williams. You just tie them all in there. I thought it was for children. It was not. But it is a solid movie, and if you haven't watched Birdcage, you all should watch it because it's kind of amazing.
It's good.
So I will pick Kelly next for the answer for her.
Sure. So obviously I'm a 90s kid, as we all are. So I feel like most of the shows we grew up watching, I think Ren and Stimpy or Rocco's Modern Life, so inappropriate, so much.
But they were on
they're so
yeah.
No, I hate Ren and Stimpy.
I watched it all the time.
I loved Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah,
I loved it.
We still quote it to this day.
Oh, constantly and all the time. It's one of my favorites. But I would say probably I got it. So when I was too young to see this movie, my sister Mary was obsessed with the movie Gladiator with Russell Crowe.
Mary.
She loved it, and she really wanted to watch it one day where we were in the house and my parents weren't around, and I was like, I can't watch this, and she's like, you can watch it, it's fine.
Oh my god.
And, and so that was the first rated R movie that I ever saw. It was Gladiator.
That was my brother Kyle. He did the same. He
sat
hid
on the
stairs because we were watching. He hid the stairs to watch it.
a classic younger child. My parents were like, whatever, it's fine.
Yeah. And so I knew later in life that it was inappropriate, because when I first watched it, there's a scene where he's walking through like all of these rags or something, and red is dripping down on him. And I'm pretty sure in the movie it's blood. Like that's the whole point, is like he's getting marked. Right? You know, well, when I was a kid, I did not even, like, my brain couldn't even connect it to blood. I was like, why are they painting him red? Like, what is the point of this part of this movie? And it wasn't until I was older and watched it again, and I was like, oh, there's so much of this that you didn't understand when you watched it when you were younger. Like, this was a mistake. You should not have watched this.
And like my brother, that was the first rated R movie he saw in the movie theaters. And you know, my brother, he's a total pansy. And so, like, sorry, Max, I know he listens to these.
He knows. He's heard it before.
Like, they went to go see it when I was at camp. It was like a fun thing that they could like go take Max to see this movie. I think it was really it's like, poor Max. It's like, what? Why is he trying to sleep with his sister? Like, we would never do that. Why is this happening?
Luckily, all of that went over my head. I didn't pick up any of the subtleties of that movie. I did not understand that they were related or that there was a potential sexual relationship there.
I don't think the incest was subtle.
No, it is if you don't know what it is. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know what they're trying to do.
Like, you're just like, okay, these.
Yeah,
like,
you know, he's creepy.
It was at an age where I did not know that existed. So I just, like, if you don't know that it exists, you miss it completely, basically.
Well, and you know he's creepy. Like, you understand that. It's just,
you know he's the bad guy and you're not supposed to like him and that he's weird, but I don't understand why until I watched it again. So that's
and then like, heavy on the incest walking.
Yeah, because I feel like that's always how it works. It's if you have older siblings, they're always the one who introduced you to something when you were way too young to be introduced to it.
Yeah, it was the opposite because Max is a wuss. So I introduced him to a lot of stuff that he was like, this isn't so bad. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. And see, my parents did the classic 90s thing where if they were watching a movie and they didn't want to turn it off, even though kids were there, they just cover your eyes during the bad parts.
Which is terrifying because you hear like screaming and you're like, why can't I see
okay, that's going on.
See, and that never bothered me. I'd always be like, do, like, all right, you know, like, I just want to get back to the action stuff.
This is not my story, but I always have to share, like, my husband, he remembers at like a first grade sleepover, they were up and they were like, the mom was had them watching a movie, which was, I have no idea I have to figure out what movie this is, but he said, like, you know, they're awake, they're in first grade, and there's like this ninja and there's this naked woman and the guy's like holding her boobs, and then he cuts off her throat or cuts off her head with a sword. And he said he just remembers like covering himself with the blanket. I'm like, poor Kevin, like, grader. Like that would be his.
Can you please Google ninja?
I'm trying to figure out
ninja shirtless woman.
Yeah,
listeners. Yeah. If you know the name of that movie, tell us immediately.
Though, and he'll watch it and he'll be like PTSD. Like,
he's just crying on the ground for like a week, like more flashbacks.
I know. When I heard that, I was like, oh my God, what kind of mom? Yeah. It's like, I'm gonna be the cool mom and show this at the
I don't know what to do if my kid came home and be like, hey, I spent the night at Billy's house and like we watched this movie with a naked lady and a ninja cut her head off. I was like
grabbing her boobs and slicing her.
I think I probably need to call Billy's mom and have a discussion.
To be fair, you probably think that they like dreamt it or something.
Well, like an early 90s kid, like, you know, you don't say anything. You're just like,
it was a lawless wasteland.
It was right at the end of the 90s, like early 2000s, that they were like, are we causing a lot of trauma for children? Should we stop this? Yeah, we were right on the cusp of that, where they're like,
Right.
they're fine.
And they added
Ooh,
like the PG.
There might not be fine.
as
Yeah,
opposed to
'cause
like just PG.
when you go back and look at what movies used to be rated, you're like, how?
I
How
know.
is this a PG film?
I don't know.
Well, that's like we just watched a bad movie with Sylvester Stallone, which I'll come back to him later in this podcast. But it's this movie called Cobra.
Oh my God, Cobra.
Yeah. Oh, it was so bad with Brigitte Nielsen. It was amazing. But it's supposed, like, my mom even said, she's like, I just remember this movie being a lot gorier than it was. And I was like, oh, that's because it's got nothing on things now. It's like something made back in the 80s seemed gory then, and it's nothing compared to what it is now. It's like it's insane what we grew up with.
Seriously.
We're heavy metal now, man.
Yeah, we just keep getting gorier and gorier, for better or worse, who knows. But anyway, that
On
was
that note-
mine.
On that
Mary
note,
ruining me for Gladiator. But so I'm gonna bring it over to Erin Puljanic.
Okay, mine is Jamie will know this one. Look Who's Talking. We were
I love Look Who's Talking.
I know, but I mean the actual beginning is showing a sperm on its way to impregnate an egg. That's the literal beginning. So
Hey,
I don't
that's
think it was
biology,
really for
Erin.
kids.
Yeah.
I know, but I just
It's a baby
mean,
talking
that
the whole
must-
time.
Yeah.
But that's what I wonder. I wonder if my parents thought because it had a talking baby that it was okay for us to watch. Because
Isn't Bruce
I mean,
Willis
as
the
I've gone,
baby?
yeah, he's the
Okay.
baby, but it's PG-13. It is PG-13, and there's like a lot of sex.
Yeah.
I mean, she literally gets impregnated by like having an affair with a married man who like won't leave his wife. And then,
Yeah.
I mean, it also has,
this movie very well.
and
Do you not?
it has a
I
Scientologist.
I love. Yeah, we watched all of the Lacusa because
I saw it.
John Travolta was
Because
like
John
early-
Travolta.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
Years later, John Travolta was an early crush.
Right. I just remember
'cause it
Bruce
was
Willis
John-
being a baby.
Yeah, because it was John Travolta and Kirstie Alley, right? Like that was
Yeah. We were upset.
loved it.
I would love to have seen the conversation because after that opening scene with like the sperm, there's no way that we knew what that was. So we had to have gone to the parents and been like, hey, can you explain this? So would pay big money to
Or you
be
just filled the
transported
blank
back to
yourself
bed.
like children do.
And it was
I
the
Yeah.
it was the Beach
muted
Boys.
check-
It was the
Mhm.
Beach, which I won't sing, so I don't get
Copyrighted.
Yeah,
but,
the Beach
yeah.
Boys.
it
Yeah.
was the Beach
No,
Boys.
because
is
here's
the
my
little-
question, and I
This
want you to ask your
sperm-
parents: is
sperm.
did the movie Look Who's Talking inspire them to have to give you the birds and the bees? Because that would be the greatest thing I'd ever heard in my life. If they were like, oh yeah, we showed them Look Who's Talking, and then we immediately had to do
That
the birds
reminds
and-
me. That reminds me. Because I was Googling because I was like, I haven't seen it in forever, so I was just like Googling Look Who's Talking today, and I found this review from a woman that says, I love this movie. It is a must watch and a great way to teach your kids or kids how babies are made. That's the review.
I love it. Oh my god,
Hey,
I want
that's
that
a
woman to be my
terrible way to
mom.
teach
Aaron, me and you, that's how we're gonna teach Henry and Wes and Toby about how
just
babies
just pop on that VHS of Look Who's Talking. And
Can I
there
say
you
though
go.
that if in my health class, instead of doing the horrifying video of like an actual live birth, if they let us watch Look Who's Talking instead, I would be much happier.
Children,
I'm actually-
the kid is gonna
I'm
sound
writing
like
my
Bruce
congressman.
Willis.
I want that to be a part of the
Yeah,
curriculum.
that's gonna go into I mean, to be fair, Republicans might be like that's better than what than what they want.
Let Bruce Willis and John Travolta teach the children.
He has the baby despite all the challenges of everything.
Yeah, so they'll probably be like,
That
that's
baby
fine.
finds
Yeah,
love with the
this is
taxi
true.
driver.
And it
He
does
was a
show that
taxi
you can't
driver.
make it on your own. You do need a man.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well,
You
that's what
cannot be
I
a
was.
single
I was
woman.
looking when I was like Googling and like looking at plot points. She like has to like go somewhere, so she like leaves him with the cab driver who she like just met and was like, "You're a suitable babysitter," which I mean is very 80s to be
Yes,
fair.
100%.
I was like some suspect parenting.
The fact that she didn't leave him by himself is a step up from a lot of that.
I think it's how
Mhm.
did this get made like one of my favorite.
Yes.
Oh yeah, they
I think
did.
they
Yeah,
did
they
ones
did.
on Look Who's Talking, and they're
They did.
like
They did.
they're like
Yes.
Yeah,
these people
so
hate each other. Like the couple, they hate each other so much.
Yeah.
Hate
Don't,
between-
Jamie, don't promote other podcasts.
Okay,
on our
sorry,
podcast.
but
Maybe the
Paul
Well,
Scheer-
that's
Paul-
good to do.
Paul Scheer
That's
is
good
like
to do.
Paul Scheer's like my somewhat celebrity best friend, where we've texted back and forth a few times, and he shouted out my advisory. So hey, Paul Scheer.
Mhm.
You should be like, shout out my
Yep.
podcast, Paul Scheer.
Here's your one free promotion on our podcast. Listen
Exactly.
to that. How did this get made on Look Who's Talking?
Yes.
And it's good. It's good to be a part of the podcast community and give
Yeah.
recommendations. They can
Yeah.
listen to ours and listen to theirs.
Yeah.
Just make
Okay.
sure you listen to ours first.
Right.
Mhm.
So we're
Promise.
about like 48
Okay,
minutes in.
Jamie, it's your turn.
I know, I was about to say we're like 48 minutes in, so we should probably get into the main. Okay,
Are
we
we
didn't
Jesus?
start at 7, so not quite 48 minutes. Okay,
No.
but I did have a quick one before my main one going into crushes. So I want to share though, and we don't need too much commentary, but Aaron, that like it totally, like I had this flashback as we were talking about this. My mom and Lindsay, my older sister, she's 8 years older, they took us to Life is Beautiful when we were 9 years old. It's a foreign film
Yeah.
about the Holocaust, and it's titled, and we're like, I mean, we're good readers, so like we followed it, but I just remember there's one scene where there's like a pile of bodies they come across, and like I just remember being haunted for like days and days.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I still remember
asterisk,
that.
I like
that movie is amazing.
It is
but, Oh
amazing.
my god.
so sad, but like, and I like double checked.
Thanks,
I
Lindsay.
think we were in 4th grade. I think we were like 9, and I was like, maybe not. And I Googled, and yeah, it was 1999 or 1990. Let me look. I just looked it up. Oh, 1997. So wait, yeah. So we were 9.
Yeah, the 5th
Yeah.
grade. Yeah.
Oh my god, that
So we
movie
were
like
9,
makes me
and I just
stop.
remember, and like we
Oh.
could follow it as a foreign film, like I said, because we were strong readers. But I just remember being so like not scarred,
Traumatized.
but well, kind of. It was
Yeah.
such a
Yeah,
heavy
when
film
it
for,
because it pulled, the camera pulls back. The camera
Ugh.
pulls back, and it's just like them on top of like,
That's, like,
all these bodies.
one of those moments that I just
Oh,
like
remember
think
that.
about as a kid, and like I remember coming out of the movie theater and being like, oh
Repressed memories just getting pulled to the surface during the podcast.
yeah, like I didn't think about that until seriously you guys were talking, and I was like, oh my gosh, I totally remember
We
this.
can have a whole episode about movies that we shouldn't have watched.
I know,
Yeah.
for sure.
'Cause I have
but-
people.
Now we can lead, my second answer is going to lead into our main theme of today, which is crushes. So get out your pillows and blankets and booze. It's an adult slumber party. Woo-hoo-hoo.
Yay.
And of course you can judge away at our crush choices. So
Yeah.
I'll start
Just
with
sounded more
my,
bad.
it's tied to the last one, but it's also my pop culture crush. So when we moved to Omaha in the summer, right before 6th grade, like, so we didn't know anybody, and I would sit up late at night. So this is like right after 5th grade. So what, you're like 10, 11, around there. I would, and that was the first time I had like my own room. And so Aaron would go to bed or whatever, and I'd stay up late watching Cheers. So I was like madly in love with Sam Malone from Cheers, Ted Danson, which I mean, I can't, like, even now, like Ted Danson,
Mhm.
yes. But like, it's so funny when you think back, I'm like, okay, he's this like huge womanizer, like sleeps with like hundreds and hundreds of women. He's this like former alcoholic bar owner. Like the whole like show takes place in a bar. Like that's the entire show. And like I watched like hours upon hours, and while all the other 6th grade girls were like into like Leonardo DiCaprio and like all these other things, like I was majorly into Sam Malone. And like
Jay, remember the parents got you that Cheers board game,
yeah.
like from
But
I think it
it's
must
so
have been from a garage
love
sale.
your parents.
Oh yeah.
So they just leaned into it.
Right. They're like,
all
this is completely normal. And I just remember
Whatever.
even being like, oh my gosh, I want to be a waitress just like Diane, because Diane's like, but they like make fun of Diane. They're so mean to Diane because she's
are.
smart, and like, and then his relationship with Diane is like so volatile, and like, actual abuse. Like the first time they kiss, they like smack each other like multiple times and kiss. But like,
yeah.
But something about like all my like early pop culture crushes and like crushes in general are always like, they're that like roguish, like that Han Solo, Aladdin, like slightly, you know what I mean? They're like not bad guys, but they have that like, I don't know, that kind of darker
Kind
side,
of
but
dick.
they have that heart of gold, like piece.
Yeah.
I like that you include Aladdin in that.
Aladdin.
But
They're like Han
He's a-
Solo, Sam Malone, Aladdin.
he's a Disney prince.
thief.
He's a Disney prince. I know he's a thief, but
food to feed himself, not like it's not like
dying,
he steals
Jamie.
from people who don't have enough.
I found though one of my old diaries, and I had like a list at the top of my old like crushes, and Aladdin, Han Solo, Sam Malone were all there on the top. And you were like,
all the men
there
are
was like
there.
tallies, but I don't know what the tallies meant. So
Yeah,
If
that's
you were
the thing.
like,
Were you
hot, hot,
listing?
hot,
Were you trying to
hot, hot.
rank them?
I don't know.
Who had the most tallies?
I don't remember. I have to bring it home. I left it in Omaha, so Aaron can go.
Maybe like maybe like the amount of dreams you had.
Maybe
I don't know. I
How
don't
many
want to. I
sexual
don't want to
dreams I've had about
speculate.
Aladdin?
I don't know.
I'm
Okay.
concerned.
Then I'll go into my serious one because sometimes we'll talk about serious topics.
Sometimes.
So like my first adult like crush, like, you know, as opposed to like I had this like kid crush from like 6th to 12th grade that like I barely knew this kid, but like, you know, you're just like, ooh, I have a crush on you. But like my first adult crush, he wanted me to call him Scurvy Larry, but fuck that. I'm just gonna call him Scott because that's his name. So if he listens, he know. Well, I told him I was gonna talk about this, so he knows. So Scott, so we worked. Aaron and I worked at Conagra for a summer, like as interns. So we were like the only 3 young interns, and this was like, so if we were. I think this was after our first year in college or right before our first year. So this is like prime The Office, like the show time. So like Aaron and I would always talk about how we felt like we were in the episode of The Office because like Jean Day and like, you know, the birthday cake day.
Oh,
got so
when they had cake, it was just like
right obsession.
stampede.
So like we felt like we were in an episode, and I think that like got into my like brain too with this like crush. So like Scott and I would I am all day, and he had this like dry sarcasm again tied to all the other crushes that I had. And at this point I'd never had a boyfriend or like anything. So I was just like, you know, at this point it was just all like, ooh, this is my first like real crush. And we hung out. I remember hanging out outside the office. We like went to Blockbuster. None of the youngins will know this.
May
Hating
rest in
yourself.
peace.
I know. R.I.P. And we like rented a movie, which really sucked. History Boys, and like making fun of him for that. And like, I remember going to a concert and he drank out of my straw and being like, ooh, like so exciting.
You basically French kissed.
I know, exactly. But he had like from the start, he had a girlfriend who was like together. They were together like 6 months. So when I would always talk to Aaron, I would always be like, I'm Jim. I'm Jim. He's Pam, and the girlfriend was Roy. So like in true The Office like style. And of course, it's also like the height of Grey's Anatomy, where it's like so drama. So I remember like writing this letter about like choosing me, like choose me, you know, and all just that drama. But I was so shy at this time. You guys know me, like never would have like ever admitted any feelings towards like anything. And we had our Ludachristmas, so this was like, so we worked together, and then we kept in touch, him and I, like through emails and like calls and texts and stuff through, must have been our first year of college, because like we were 21 by Ludachristmas. We had this Ludachristmas from like 30 Rock, this just like all out drink booze fest, us four and another friend, and
all of us hellbound ladies.
exactly. And
Yes.
then I invited him over, and he came over, and we were playing like Dream Phone and like whatever. Of course I was super drunk, and that was the time I spilled gin on Kelly, like
from across the room. Sorry,
like
pause in the
like 4 or
story.
5 times. I don't even
Pause
know
in
how
the cross
it was
story. But literally, she is across the room from me, and this is the first time I think it maybe happened, but it has happened several times since. I am in a lot of danger when Jamie is in the same room with me, and she also has alcohol.
I think it's
but literally, she was walking in the room, stumbled somehow through an entire drink over a large coffee table, not
And it
one of
didn't hit me.
eating things, like a big square coffee table.
Yeah.
Hit only me, even though Erin was sitting right next to me. I mean, drenched me. She's completely dry. And it's not the first time. That was the first time it had happened, but it is not the last time that it has happened.
And it will not.
Drunk Jamie has something out for Kelly. I don't know what it
will
is.
happen. It's written in the stars.
There's some sort of magnetic field or something that just,
and I remember though, right before that, this was like during winter break, I had met my now husband, and then you guys, like, and so I walked, Scott up, and it's that awkward like hug, and I'm like, oh, I really want to kiss him, but like obviously I didn't, because I'm a loser and stuff. And then I came back down, and you guys, and I was like, oh, you hate him.
You hate
No, because you started doing that because we're like, yeah, he's nice, but he's dating somebody. It's like, and what about Coffee Guy? Like, why don't you like hang out more with Coffee Guy? Because you told us about Kevin. Like, you had mentioned how there was this other guy, but you just had this crush. And yeah, you just started. You hate it. And on top of that, you are laying across the two of us, across our laps, and you are literally rolling back and forth as you're saying it. Like,
your bony hips.
Oh, it was hysterical, because
I remember that.
Hate him. He has a girlfriend.
We're like, Amy, no, just don't date him. You hate him.
Yeah. And so, I mean, the biggest thing is like, right, like destiny. I wrote here, like, while thinking about, like, sometimes goes in a different direction. Like, I had so consumed and thought like, this is it, right? Like, especially when you're that young, you're always like, this is it. And it ended up, my friends, of course, even though my hellbound friends, they sent me in a different direction. And like 2 weeks later, I went on a date with, like, a real, more official date with Kevin. And now 11 years later, we're still together, which is kind of crazy.
So you're welcome.
That's my little adult crush and pop culture crush talk. Erin Talbert is next.
All right. So I had like this standard, like, middle school, high school crush, but like nothing all that exciting. And then I met Brian and my husband, and then we got married. So I mean, like, that stuff's because he's cool. But so I think the crush that like really sticks with me is, I feel like a lot of times we have this moment where we switch from like prepubescent, like we're into like skinny, like Justin Timberlake and NSYNC and stuff, where he has like no body hair, and like, because that's what all the kids your age like anyway. So you're like kind of into that, and then you have this moment where you're like, oh wait, is that a man? Because I am into that. So my mom was like, do you want to watch this movie with me? I bet you like it. The costumes are really pretty. I bet you like it. So we start watching Zorro, and like Anthony Hopkins is in it. He's cool. But, and like Antonio Banderas comes in and he looks good. Like, he's a handsome man, so he looks good. But then he has that scene where he's dancing with Catherine Zeta-Jones, and I was like, oh my God, like puberty began, the like gates opened up, and like I wanted to look like Catherine Zeta-Jones, and I wanted to have wild sex with Antonio Banderas. And like, so there was a lot of kind of moments where I was like, oh my God, is that like that's what a man looks like? Okay, no, I'm into that. I don't want any of this like bullshit, like teen bop sort of shit. I want this hot man on my body.
I think we can give that the verb, the Swayze, like,
yeah.
like,
well, I'm like
like most women, it's like the Swayze. Like, here's a VHS tape of Dirty Dancing, or like those things. You're like,
yeah. Full man.
Like, I remember he was like dancing, and he was like super sexy, and like Catherine Zeta-Jones looked beautiful. And so I was like, I want her hair and her body, and I want him on top of that. So like, if we could do that.
Both of
And I
those
remember
stick
after the
together.
movie, I was like, this is kind of weird, because there have been like kind of general sort of like puberty, like this guy's really hot. Like Kelly's person was definitely a moment with that, a lot of that. But this was like the moment where I was like, oh my God, is this my thing? I'm into that. Yep. Yep. Okay, let's do it. And then I rewatched that movie probably too many times, and it was on Netflix. I'm like, Brian, get out the way. We are watching Zorro. I'm like, goodness, I was already pregnant, because we would be getting pregnant again if I wasn't. So, so it's
Thank
kind
you,
of that.
Zorro.
Yeah, well, no, that didn't help either time. Like looking at kind of that.
Amy Frazier. Thank you,
Yeah,
Outlander.
thank you, Outlander, and karaoke.
Yeah,
so
that did help.
it did. And so that was kind of, I really feel like that was like the moment where I was like, oh, and then I started like getting more into like more masculine, like sort of like muscular, like, you know, like more kind of not super
Dudes.
skinny, you know, like little dudes. It was more
like Leonardo DiCaprio in Titanic, where
I was not into him.
He's beautiful.
I was not into him in Titanic.
But like,
I thought he had a pretty mouth. That was about it.
Yeah.
But like they're very effeminate, just beautiful.
Yeah.
Because Titanic, I wanted to look like Kate Winslet. Like I thought Kate Winslet was 100% babe material, but like I did not want anything to do with Leonardo DiCaprio. I felt like Kate Winslet could probably have done better than that. So, but yeah, that one was mine. The other like middle school crushes, just standard, you know, like, oh, he's so handsome. Why doesn't he ask me to dance? Like, you know, like I don't even remember their names, because like, who gives a shit? I ended up going to the dances with you guys, like, you know. So I mean, like, it wasn't like, you know, it was really that big of a deal.
I never got asked to dance. I didn't go to prom with anybody.
You went to the prom with us, Jamie.
That's okay. Yeah.
And at least you didn't go with, you know, a shitbag like Aaron did. So you're doing okay.
Second podcast in a row.
Let's rename this show Hits to Sean.
Oh, just Sean report to the burn unit.
I just, after the first episode, my husband, that was like the one thing that my husband took away. He was like, no, you've dated some winners, haven't you?
Yeah, that we all hate Sean. I mean, like, you could just name the podcast that, but you know, like
I went to prom with the spirit of Patrick Swayze.
There you go.
Dead yet, Jamie?
Was he dead?
No.
No.
I'll just say, I know, but the spirit could just be like, not necessarily the dead spirit.
I get what you mean. You just carried him
energy.
with you.
Okay, yeah, he died in 2009, so he wasn't.
Yeah, because he died when we were in college. Yeah, because I remember we watched Dirty Dancing in the sorority room, so I remember that. So I will pass it to Kelly, because hers is like kind of in a similar vein.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to tell two stories. So I'm with Aaron, except that honest to God, I do not think that I ever had a crush on anyone who was even remotely near my same age. I don't know what that says about me. I have a wonderful father. I shouldn't have daddy issues, so it doesn't make a lot of sense just in terms of like my background. But
older men are hot.
It's true, right? Like that's just objectively
I can
true.
attest to that.
Yeah, because they don't have daddy issues either. Their dad is wonderful. Okay. So.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't make sense. I mean, I don't fit the stereotype, but yeah, so my real world one, and I'm not going to say his name, but my family, when I was younger, all of us were younger, we did taekwondo together, which was tons of fun. My entire family was in it. All 7 of us did it. And we actually built a pretty good community, like in the school there. And we had and then when I say we, I mean, my parents had lots of like adult friends. And there was this one guy who I'm going to call him Mr. D.
Mr. D.
Which I just realized as soon as I said it was a mistake, but it's too late.
That was a big mistake.
That was a
mistake.
Out of all the letters and all the alphabet.
Yeah, it was wrong. That was a mistake on my part.
But his name's Mr. D.
I'm just gonna go with it. But so I had a huge crush on, and it makes no logical sense. He wasn't a super attractive guy. It wasn't like he was like super nice to me or anything. He was nice to me, you know, but he was just like, I was like 12 and 13 at the time. He was a friend of my parents. He was like in his 30s, you know, so it's like there's nothing. But one time we all went down to Florida, all of the adults in the taekwondo school, they were getting like awards, so we went to like this awards break, and it was this great trip. It's actually my favorite trip ever, which I think we're going to talk about on our next episode, is to talk about some travel stories. This will definitely, I'll go more into it, but it was super fun. We were going to Universal and everything, and then one night my parents were out either at dinner or they were at this thing, and I literally lost my little prepubescent like 13-year-old mind, and I literally was just jumping around going, I'm not gonna say
Mr. D,
and I'm not gonna say the name I came up with either because both sounds terrible. Literally,
Mr. D. It's like Tom Cruise jumping on the couch.
it was totally like,
Kelly,
like
you've made your bed, you have to lie in it. It's Mr. D.
No, I will not recreate the scene, but literally was jumping around yelling, I love blah, 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 I love blah, blah. And my sister Stacy, my older sister Stacy, was so like disgusted. She literally was like, I'm going to throw myself out of a window. Please stop this. It was bad. It was super embarrassing. It's one of those things where I'm like, thank God social media and like phones that could record you were not a thing yet, because
They saved us. That saved us.
I would die of embarrassment today if anybody had a video of me doing that, because it was super embarrassing.
Wait till we talk about travel stories next week. Some of my like theatrics. Oh my God.
Yeah, I got good ones for that. But so anyway, so that was sort of my real world one. But as far as like a celebrity crush, my first celebrity crush, the one that like sticks out in my mind as being like, oh yeah, I'm into that, like that is interesting for me, was Brendan Fraser in The Mummy. He was so good looking in that movie, and he was like, he was so hot, and he was a perfect character because he was masculine and like adventurous, but he was protective, but he wasn't like a dick about it, you know. It's like
kind of an asshole in like a hot way.
Kelly, I remember you having us watch The Mummy. That was the first time I watched The Mummy.
Yeah.
Yes, because it's still, honestly, to this day, it's still one of my favorite movies. I still like, if I'm having a bad day or I just like need a little pick me up, and sometimes when I'm baking randomly, I'm like, you know what I want to watch doing this is The Mummy. I don't know why. Probably because Brendan Fraser is so cute, but like Rachel Weisz is amazing in it. She looks amazing, and I cannot remember what the name of the guy who has like the tattoos on his face.
Oh
I
man,
can't remember the actor's name.
Oh yeah,
but he's also crazy.
He's beautiful.
But he's also crazy attractive. But it's just like, he's such a good male character. Like, I mean, he has flaws because it's the 90s, so it's not like he's perfect or anything, or the 2000, I think 90s.
I think it was
sure
like
that was a
9 or something.
I think it was
it was somewhere right in that period.
Yeah, because I think it was like 10 or 11, because I watched it with a friend, and her mom said she wasn't allowed to watch it because it was too scary. So
I mean, I can actually see that, because I mean, there is one part where the guy's like tongue and eyes are ripped out. I mean, there are some scary parts.
Yeah.
But I loved it, and it was the first time that I looked at him and I was like, I know that I'm straight now. I'm sure of it. Like, I look at Rachel Weisz and I am
Jungle too, and he's naked in George of the Jungle. Like straight up, that man is wearing a small loincloth, and he is fit as fuck.
But here's the funny thing. So yes, George of the Jungle, obviously, because he looks amazing in it. But really, I think for me, the big thing was it was the perfect combination of a guy who I found really attractive playing a super attractive character to me. Like, it was the combination of those two things at that perfect time in my life that just made me go like, okay, you're straight, you like men a lot. Because like Rachel Weisz is in that movie, right? And all I am about her is envious. I'm like, you look gorgeous, and I want that hair, even though it looks terrible, but it's so thick and amazing, and that's what I want for myself. But yeah, The Mummy, Brendan Fraser, still love that movie. It holds up after all of these years. Amazing. But Brendan Fraser, he started it for me. Like Aaron was saying, if there's a start from when you move like when you move the meter up, he's the one who moved it for me.
And he's like kind of dirty in it, you know, like he's like kind of dirty.
He's a little bit rough and I like that. I'm not as into really clean cut guys. Like I kind of like that little bit of rough, stubbly sort of.
Because like Brendan Fraser, like I feel like he's so overlooked when you talk about like actors of kind of that era.
He is.
He was really popular.
He was super popular. He was super cute. And I just thought that, and that movie, I mean, people still love it. I mean, people still watch it now. You know, I mean, when they tried to do the remake with Tom Cruise, people were pissed because they're like, the first one's so amazing.
Right. Why?
But yeah.
Well, that's why they backtracked and said, like, it's a remake of the one from the 30s. It's not a remake of the Brendan Fraser one. You're like, fuck right, it's not.
Because it can't be. It can't be. And Brendan Fraser, he's another one. He's actually a pretty good actor. I've seen him now in a couple of things, like, because he sort of fell off of the, you know, the face of the
he was in a lot episode
about him. Because his story is like wacky, like why he went
well, and also it's like it's kind of sad because he kind of like he did all 4 of the Mummy movies and he did some other action movies, and I guess he kind of really messed up his body doing like stunts and things for it, you know, like he had a lot of problems with pain and you know, like basically injury and stuff like that, and he has a crazy story. But I recommend to anybody listening, number one, watch The Mummy because it holds up even after all of these years. If you haven't seen it, watch it. If you have seen it, watch it again. Just enjoy yourself.
At least.
But also check out some of Brendan Fraser's new stuff because we should support him. He seems like he's a blessing of a man now, and he's really good.
Like and subscribe.
Yes, Brendan Fraser, listen to our podcast.
Just know that I truly appreciate you as an actor, and also you started puberty for me, so thank you for that as well.
Dead ass, 100%.
But so I'm gonna move it over to Aaron P to share what cannot be better than Brendan Fraser. But you can.
No, I can't. Yeah. So can you guys hear me? Okay, because my thing, it just had another internet's unstable, so it might cut out again. Sorry. But anyway, in terms of like real ones, like as a kid, why are you laughing?
I'm looking at what you're gonna talk about.
Oh yeah.
So
in terms of real ones,
you have a good one on your list. Sorry, never mind. You have a good one coming up.
Yes, in terms of real one, we don't care.
I'm the only one who told like a somewhat. Kelly told a somewhat like heartfelt.
I did, and it's an embarrassing story. So like I put it out there.
Kelly and
I've had a lot of crushes. I mean, like I was always a person. Any class that I was in, it was like I would take a look of even if there was like nobody remotely suitable, I'd be like. You I also like you're the least horrible, so I will have a crush on you. So like I don't want to go. I want to go into some of the pop culture ones. My first one is Peter Brady, and Jamie will know because we were
so much Brady fun.
We watched. I mean, that was I think the same summer. Yeah, when we moved from Illinois to Nebraska.
We just watched like Nick at Night, and my
we watched
so
old
weirded out by us.
Yeah, so like I mean, we watched so much, and like at that time, you have like no concept of time, because like off topic. I remember in elementary school when they asked us like, what was your favorite band and stuff, and everybody was like going around and saying like Blink 182, Green Day. And I was like, who the fuck are these people? I have no idea because we just listened to like Beatles and Fleetwood Mac and stuff. So like you have no concept of time at that age. So when we watched the Brady Bunch, we were like, this must have been made last year, even despite the outfits and all the stuff. So
you're the 60s.
Yeah. 70s. I know. Well, that's what I had no idea that I was crushing on like a 40-something, 50-something-year-old man at that time.
It's always the hierarchy. Like me as the older twin, I liked Greg Brady.
She got Greg Brady. I got Peter Brady. Mm-hmm.
I love.
Like I couldn't even have.
So funny how as siblings you can't like the same people.
Jan, like obviously there was a whole hierarchy.
So it's just, I mean, I don't even know if people had crushes on him in the actual 70s, because I know Mom was like so judgmental of us watching Brady Bunch. She was like, are you sure you want to watch that?
Yeah,
Like,
she thought it was lame back when because she was like, what? She would have been 16 or like 15.
Yeah.
16, so she was like, why are you watching this super lame show that I hated when I grew up?
We had like collectible books and like their CDs and like, I mean, it wasn't just like watching the television. It was like a step above the watching the television show.
Wait, so Peter Brady was Christopher Knight, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Anna, no. No.
But she didn't like, but she
not
didn't
saying
like
now.
Christopher Knight. She liked Peter Brady. Clear distinction.
That's
Clear.
well, that's the
I'm
problem when you're young and you watch older shows is that you're watching it and the only person that you can like is the actual character because you're too young to even kind of realize that they're not real. Like, you know, they're not real. Like, you're old enough to know that, but still, like, in your mind, it's all that they are. If you met him in real life, you'd probably call him Peter Brady. Like, you would know who he really is.
Like, it's that tenuous, it's
especially
very tenuous,
no.
That was like 5th grade. So we like the idea of like Christopher Knight being like a crazy right wing, whatever. Like,
is he crazy right now?
Oh, he is.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Very red.
I didn't know that.
Oh
no.
He probably owns at least 3 MAGA hats. At least.
Oh no.
Oh, Erin.
Damn it.
We're breaking your poor 5th grade heart.
Okay,
Look
I'm
at
track.
Erin has to move on as she processes this.
Okay. Yes. Okay. No, we're going to scratch that out. Jamie, you can delete that whole section. We don't want to give. We don't want to give.
No, Erin said.
Oh no,
Mr. Christopher
Knight.
The fact that we just crushed your poor little 5th grade heart is
I had
really,
no idea he was
concerning.
I had no idea.
I don't think the guy who plays Greg Brady is a big MAGA person.
Oh, okay. Well, now he's my Jamie. Go in and edit every mention of Brady and put in Greg.
Continue. You have a good next one. This
your next one is good.
My next one is Ian Malcolm. I mean, hot.
From Jurassic Park, FYI, just for anybody who's listening who maybe doesn't know.
Jurassic Park, Lost World. Did we care about dinosaurs? Cute. No. Did we care about sarcastic mathematicians with a heart of gold? Yes. We
heart of gold? I mean,
in the second one and stuff, he saved the kids.
I mean, and in the first one, he sacrifices himself to help the kids. I mean, he does it in a dumb way. He should have listened to, the dinosaur expert.
He's not a bad guy.
No, but like heart of gold is not like probably a descriptor I would use like for
heart of silver, heart of bronze.
Hey, you know what? How about you just leave Ian Malcolm alone? Because he's one of mine too.
I gave Sam Malone a heart of gold. He has a sensitive side in there.
Nah.
Yeah, I think Ian Malcolm for sure, and he's a smarty pants.
He's real cute. Don't get me wrong, but
that scene where he's just lounging on the table with his shirt ripped.
Aaron, you have a good question.
Well, that's what my question was. Why did he pack so much leather for a trip to a tropical island? He knew where he was going, but it only adds to the allure and mystery of mystery.
I mean, he's trying to get with Ellie the whole time. Like she's sitting next to Grant, and they're like clearly a couple.
And he's still flirting.
Oh, hey, girl.
Well, that's not fair. He stops flirting as soon as Alan tells him that they're a thing.
He does.
He does. He doesn't flirt again at the end of the movie.
Sure, but like it's pretty obvious. Like read the context clues, Ian.
Yeah. I know, but I'm just saying. I mean, shoot your shot until you know that the basket's not open. Is what I'm saying. Like
no,
but he's still. I mean, I
appreciate his bravery.
Yeah, and I root like Matt. In quarantine, we've probably watched Jurassic Park at least 20 times.
And they took it off Netflix.
I know. Well, and that's like it's one of those things that's always on television. And my husband Matt, he always makes fun because every time I see it, I'm like, we've got to watch the rest.
Sorry, here you go.
Yeah,
it's like it still holds up.
It does.
I mean, Ian Malcolm still holds up. And I'm like, I'm not embarrassed about this one.
Alan Grant.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
another
He's
weird
also
crush.
good.
I have a lot of weird older man
And
crushes.
he's so protective of the kids and stuff, and so that
That's
really
the thing. He's cute. His personality in that is really cute. Not him specifically and his
No.
face or body really, but yes,
And
him and just person.
I think he's still not
God.
his face and body, but
He is also
yeah,
not
like-
aged well. He's melted. I mean, he is not aged well, and he's going to be.
Saying,
I
I'm
think he
not
looks
saying that guys.
fine.
I'm just saying he's not a classically handsome guy. Like he's not,
Yeah.
he's not somebody that you look at and you're like, oh
He's
yeah,
not
that guy.
Swayze.
Like
He's
Sam
not
Neill can get
Swayze,
it.
but
yeah, what I'm saying is that if he played a bad guy in a movie, you wouldn't be weirdly attracted to him, even though he's a dick. You would just be like,
Yeah.
man, that guy's a dick. Like,
Right, correct.
you know what I mean? That's his sort
Ooh.
of look.
that's a good way to
It's a
judge.
way to think about it. If just ask
Mhm.
yourself, is this guy actually attractive? If he were a dick in a movie, would I still find him attractive? That's how you know if they're physically
That's
attractive
not
or
fair
But-
because that's my type. Okay,
Good
so
tip.
that's
Well,
No,
see,
the
I
right
always like
kind
the
of dick.
slightly roguish. Yeah, I always like the slightly, but slightly your Han Solos, your Aladdins.
full
Yeah.
From
Ian Malcolm.
Ian Malcolm is a dick, right?
Yeah.
In the movie, like he thinks he's really smart, and but it's like, but
But
I'm
he
talking about, like,
he
a guy who's,
reforms
like,
a little bit. He
Yeah.
gets he I mean, yeah, he by the end he's more humble. He's been humbled by his experiences.
humbled by being stepped on by a dinosaur. Yeah, that'll do you.
exactly. But no, that's a really good one. He would make it on my list too.
Mhm,
Yeah,
He's one
I
of my
mean, I
first
think he's
crushes.
again perfect movie at the
Very
perfect
90s.
age for our for our age group. And then my quick one is it's quick for obvious reasons. It's Bill Clinton because I found an old diary ages ago, and the two diary entries. So the one says, "I love Magic." Who was the Beanie Baby dragon, who I was obsessed with and carried with like all over. And then the next page said, "I love Bill Clinton." So the juxtaposition of those two entries, I just had to mention that. But I don't want to go into it because
I did have, again, I found an old diary too that said, I know I'm going to marry either Justin Timberlake or Lance Bass.
I remember.
Wow, one of those you were real wrong about. Like
You were
really
real
wrong.
off on one of those.
It could still happen. Who knows?
Like Justin, sure, but like
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, who
Lance, I
knows?
don't think I'm in the
Jessica
right-
Biel might not be happy. You don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, Lance, that ship sailed before you even got on it. So like,
Yeah, I do remember in your the diary entries where you're like, I know I am going to marry them. Like
I love the
See, and that
comment.
was
with
my problem.
certainty.
I didn't like any. I was not a fan of I could be I sort of tried to choose a favorite, but I was never obsessed with the Backstreet Boys or NSYNC.
Yeah.
I was sort of
We were in sync all the way.
Yeah.
I was
really.
both. I was an
We didn't-
equal opportunity lover.
For a brief time, I feel like, again, it was like that 3rd to 5th grade, and then Sam.
Yeah. And then
I
it
went from that to
switched
Sam
over.
Coleman,
Yeah.
it was a big
Loved both
switch.
Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera. I was an equal opportunity person. I was like, I'm not gonna let this, feud get to me. If I like their music, I'm just gonna like their music.
That's what I was about to say. I don't know if
Very
this is a
fair.
good thing to say about me or a bad thing to say about me, but the only thing I cared about with NSYNC and Backstreet Boys was their music. I was not
Yes.
interested in any of them in terms of
No.
them being boys and me
Yeah.
being a lady.
And that was when I started watching Buffy, and so I was really into Angel and stuff. So there was a lot. Older men were a thing, and it was just
Yeah.
To be fair, looking back at pictures of the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, it's not like
oh my god,
Can't
no.
be
Can I just say though, I like that we found this common ground of that we all just were older men. From a young age, every single one of us chose an older man as our
I'm the
Yeah,
only one who has an
not just
excuse
from
for
younger
that.
age.
and in
Yeah.
school, I feel like I'd have a default school crush, but they were it was this I kind of have
You
to
have
a
to.
person my own age.
Yeah, that was what
But,
mine were like.
the
Yeah.
See, and
the actual crush, the one that you spend the most energy was on the Swayzes and the
See, and
Malone.
I didn't even have that. I cannot tell you of a crush I actually had in middle school or high school on somebody who was like my own age or even just in my same school. Like
I had
I
just like
never
that
did that.
arbitrary
You didn't
one.
have a good pool to choose
I
from.
had like this
No.
like this neighbor kid we moved like so literally from 6th to 12th grade, and I maybe said like 5
Well, we
sentences.
both
Both
liked
had a
him.
crush on. I maybe said 5 sentences to
Aw.
him all of 6th to 12th grade. He, like I said, he was literally just like a standing crush. Like, okay, I guess I
Yeah, it
have
was
to have a
like,
crush like in this, but like if
mhm.
you would have
Yeah,
asked me,
like if you had,
what's his favorite band or like what
yeah, we had
anything,
no. Mm-mm.
have no clue. That's why like Scott was like my first like I said, adult and somebody my own age as opposed to like, yeah, like a Swayze or a
Yeah,
Malone.
did I ever have like an actual like adult my own age? I'm not sure that I really
Adult
ever
your own
have.
age.
I mean, I did date in high school. I did have a serious boyfriend in high school,
Yeah.
you know, like first love and everything, but
Yeah.
I didn't have a crush on him beforehand. Like I wasn't like,
Oh,
my
really?
God. No,
So
like
Just
did
happened.
he approach you then? Like, was
oh
he
yeah.
crushing
No, I
on
mean like
you?
we talked and I thought he was funny and like we were friendly, but I never like it's not like I went home and I was like, oh my gosh, you know, it's like I'm gonna write his name in my trapper keeper. Like I was never like that, you know, like I never do you know what I'm talking about? Like
Yeah.
I've never
Oh,
gotten like obsessively crushed over a boy. I've just been like, you know, he asked me out and I was like, really? All right, like why not?
Sure.
And I'm still like that to today. Like I don't look for it at all. I'm just like, really? Well, okay, that's fine.
Oh,
Let's do
I get so absorbed, and I mean,
Yeah, back in the day, I
like,
get like obsessive for sure.
That's how
well,
Sean
even like,
sunk his talons in for so long.
wow.
Fuck you, John.
Second shot, my friends.
Should we just change the name to the podcast just called Burns for Sean? Because
Apparently,
I think that should be the subtitle. It should be like to Helena podcast.
Anytime Sean's called out, Sean Reverend.
I feel like I can't say anything because it's a dick move if I say anything, but you guys could say anything. You guys could say everything. That's fine.
We did. We're
He's
good.
a dick.
We will continue to do that as well. So.
But I think, I mean,
You know what?
like,
It worked out for the best, though. You ended up where you were supposed to be, and he's part of
Yeah,
that
I
journey.
mean,
He's just a real dickish
yeah,
part of the journey.
but that's what I think. I mean, to bring it around, like with like real crushes or first loves and stuff, like it's just a natural part of growing up and stuff. I mean, it's not like I regret dating him or,
Yeah.
you know, it's just, it made me who I am, and it made me realize what I want in terms of relationships, what I want in terms of life. Like,
You know what is
I
so
don't
funny?
think that.
Sorry,
like,
I didn't mean to
it's
cut
just
you
like
off.
I don't. Yeah, no, I just meant like I don't like. I think that like, you know, I don't regret doing any of that stuff, and I never feel regretful about most things. I just think that it helps get you to where you're at now.
See, and it is funny because I go in the exact opposite direction. If I could go back and say anything to my like 14-year-old self, it would be do not date while you're in high school. Because I look back on it and it's like, you know, it's fine because it is what it is. You can't change the past. But I look back on it and I'm just like, you spent so much of your time and like so much of your energy on a boy. And it just like, you could have had so much more time for other things. It was like, it wasn't until I got older and I realized that focusing on like yourself and your friends and figuring out who you are and what you like is so much more important than like dating or being able to say you have a boyfriend or whatever. Like that, if I could give any piece of advice, this is probably a question that will pop up at some point for the podcast, but literally that would be it, is that if I could go back, I would not have had a boyfriend, and certainly not a serious boyfriend in high school. I would have skipped that completely. I've been like, don't do it until like you're 21 and you can drink. Like just hold off on it.
It ties into my dad's life advice, which is it's not hard to impress a 16-year-old girl. That was
because you do
become a good advice.
It stuck with me because there was like this 19-year-old kid on a motorcycle who like wanted to fuck me, and I remember I was like, He's 19 though, and he should probably have a mode of transportation and like a job and stuff like that.
Right.
I'm like, I just remember
Yeah,
it's not hard to impress a 16-year-old girl. I was like,
That's
thanks,
good.
Dad. I
Yeah.
remember
it's
that.
good advice.
Yeah.
It's so hard because like there's like that middle, right? Because like I didn't date like or have like a kiss or anything until college, like, and so for me, I felt like, especially like with the Scott situation, but even just other ones where I was just like, I wish I would have been more not ballsy, but like
Mhm.
like so scared to be myself. Like I
Yeah.
was so, and like I feel like that's the big thing that like shifted between like that and then like when I started dating Kevin and like kind of growing into myself of being like being authentically who I am and being able to express myself. Like,
Yeah.
and I feel like it was even big, like I said, this year where like Scott and I like still very occasionally like are in contact. Like for me just to even admit, be like, did you know that I had like a massive crush on you? Like just to like put it out there, like, cause it kind of just sucks when it's just like in you for like 10, 15 years and it's just like living in you and you're like, even though like I said, it doesn't change anything between us, but it's like this idea of like I spoke my truth, like this time when I was so scared that to do anything,
Yeah.
like my
Well, I
anxiety
think
and everything was so strong where it was just like to ask somebody
Well, I-
out to say I liked them,
yeah.
like I'm glad I didn't date. Yeah, also in high school, like there was a guy who liked me in high school and I was not interested. I'm glad I like wasn't just like,
Yeah.
oh, I should date and stuff. But then at the same time, it's like if I could go back, like advice, just being like, be you and like express it. Like, yeah, if you get disappointed,
Yes.
like, yeah, most likely you would have been like, I have a girlfriend, like, I'm not interested right now. Then you move on, right? As opposed to this, like, that like in between, which is so
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's
Well,
my
Jamie,
thought is just the idea of like just take time when you're young to figure out who you are and what you want. Like that's my big thing. Now, I've always had a strong personality. I've never shied away from just kind of being who I am.
Yeah.
People either take it or leave it, and that's it's not anything that I do. It's just kind of part of my own personality. But I think of all of the time that I spent hanging out with him and just like I kind of just was going along with it because I thought that's sort of like what I was supposed to do. But like I knew that I wasn't going to marry him or that I wasn't thinking about getting married or anything at all. I like
Yeah.
just kind of did it because it was easier to do it than to like do something about it. And that's something that I would definitely change. But like I said, he wasn't a crush or anything. And I don't have like some weird nostalgic thing like, oh, he was my first love. I'm just sort of like, yeah, he was a thing that happened and no,
Right.
it's not a thing. It's fine.
Right.
Which
Yeah.
also shows that I probably shouldn't have stayed with him as long as I did or been with him at all because obviously I did not feel strongly about it and I spent so much time on it. It's just
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
And that like your description of him, it's like the perfect description. Like he was a thing because like you're right. He was like whatever. I
Yeah.
remember him, but like
Right.
Well, I think that's a good like at this point in your life to look back at that. I mean, like, you're never going to feel the same way about him, or you shouldn't feel the same way, but like it represents a time in your life that you had. And it's kind of like where certain objects hold, I don't want to say affection, but they represent something to you. And that's what this person does. It's
Regret and shame.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's just like, I mean, I think the problem where you get into it is if you start idealizing that and putting them up on a
Yeah.
pedestal, and that's what, like Jamie, I was gonna say, like with you, I think the reason people think about like crushes and stuff is still like it kind of represents unfinished business.
Exactly.
You feel like
Yeah.
you want some sort of resolution to it, and that's kind of what you got.
That's what it
But
felt
yeah, I think that's what brings you back to them is because it's
Right.
unfinished.
and
yeah,
that's
because we like didn't get to do anything.
exactly, and that's what it
Mhm.
felt like to like be able to say that because like I said, occasionally we've like very rarely, but we'll send messages checking in and stuff, and I think just being able to be like, okay, like that's out there for me, like so much stuff. And like, even with my students and stuff, I always say that it's like something about speaking something makes it real. And then like, like you said, like, it's like, it's like, I don't want that to go anywhere. It's not like I'm expecting that to move in a direction or something, but to be like, hey, this was like this time, like where I was like so obsessed with you. Like, and were you
it's
that
a release.
And he was
And now
like,
that
oh,
business is
I
over
was
with
totally
it.
oblivious. And you're like, oh my gosh, it's just hilarious to think of these two, you know, these two 20-year-olds, again, two dumb 20-year-olds seeing a same situation in two totally different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Any other last comments about crushes before we move on?
What a weird ending to this podcast that was. We went so deep all of a sudden.
I know.
I like it. I think it's a good mix. I like the mix of
sometimes, and other times.
And that's
It's what we do, if we're being honest, as friends. This is exactly how your conversations go.
Right. So if you don't like it, don't subscribe. No, I'm just kidding.
No, do subscribe.
We want you.
No, but I like, that's the big piece, I think, for people to understand about our podcast. Like, well, we do the funny and like all this stuff, but like any friends, we like, yeah, some of
Talk
these
about the deep stuff.
Dark or
Well,
not dark,
we've
but
all
like,
we've lived 30 plus years. Like we all have
we're old.
and
We've lived.
yeah, we old.
We've lived so many years. I mean, we lived 7 years just from 2020 alone.
We deserve to impart what little wisdom we have learned, I think. Exactly. You know, like for me, I'm like, you know, there's plenty of stuff I haven't figured out, but there are some things that I feel like
have a little bit better.
So I'll give you the tiny wisdom that I have.
Yes. So to end it, again, thank you for listening to Helena Podcast. We mentioned the name again. Please remember to like and subscribe here or on any of the podcast apps you listen to, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all of that. And especially, please remember to do it this week because we have a giveaway, our first giveaway. Yay! So this week we are giving away a $30 Amazon gift card on behalf of Jeff Bezos, who is also hellbound. But we do want to make sure there's the distinction. He's going to the bad one. We're in the fun one. So just to clarify,
he's not with us.
He's not with us.
We're not saving him a seat.
But he is related. He's related to hell, so we're going to bring him into this giveaway. So to enter, you need to like and subscribe us here on YouTube, as well as on our Instagram page, which we'll have linked, and also on our Instagram page, tag another hellbound friend you'd like to have listened to us, or you could respond to one of our questions. So if you want to tag a friend and then also answer the crush question, you can do that, or just tag a friend. I'll have all the instructions in the description box. So again, like us here on YouTube, subscribe here on YouTube, and then
write us reviews.
Yes,
well.
Please
leave comments, write reviews.
Please,
we love to hear from you.
We don't want to hear. We don't want to hear any crap.
No,
only good ones.
Only good stuff.
If you say anything bad about Sam Malone, you're on the shit list. So, but again, to enter
and Peter Brady. No, actually,
I want to clarify though, so they know, in order to be entered for the gift card, again, like, subscribe here on YouTube, and then follow our page on Instagram and tag somebody else who you would like to see in the good hell. And if you want, you can also answer the question about crushes, but you don't have to. But you should comment.
We'll put the rules down in the YouTube
in the description, and then you have until Sunday at, we'll say 10 p.m. because I go to bed early, 10 p.m. And then we're going to do a random selection, and we'll announce a winner on our Instagram and Facebook on Monday. So all the instructions again will be in our description here. But thank you for joining us for episode 2 of To Hell in a Podcast. We're going to keep saying the name this time.
Do we have a preview for next week?
Yeah, so preview for next week, we are going to be talking about travel stories, and we are hopefully going to have a special guest. As I said, all of our all sister-in-law, Amy, will hopefully join us. As I said, occasionally I'll have special guests to talk travel stories. So please join us again next Friday. Again, our episodes drop on Friday. Sometimes the YouTube ones will drop on Thursday, but everything for sure Friday dropped.
Come join us in the madness.
Exactly. Steve and Hell, everybody.
All right.
See ya.
Ciao, bitches.
You didn't ask for a bird, but you were born. Welcome to planet Earth each day. It's death and more.